Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Orachimaru didn't stop attack during Chhunin exam and Naruto Awaken New Powers Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto Arachiadori. Uzumaki Naruto couldn't believe it. Down there in the pit, where he had fought and defeated Hyuga Neji number 2 hours ago, Uchiha Sasuke was fighting Naruto's worst nightmare. Sasuke, Naruto's rival, was fighting against the one person that Naruto was actually openly afraid of facing. Gaara of the desert. After the talk Naruto had with the red-haired sand shinobi yesterday, he discovered two things. They had been living a similar life and for a similar reason. Both had been hated and feared by their village because they had a demon sealed inside of them. But Naruto was scared of Gaara because, unlike Naruto, Gaara did not get out of the loneliness. Instead he stayed in it and killed anyone that came close to him. It was the thought that anyone could stay in the darkness of being alone so long and willingly stay there that had Naruto scared. And now Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto's rival and teammate, was down there fighting him. After asking, almost begging even, Kakashi-sensei to interfere with the fight because Sasuke would lose, he pulls of a trick like that. With his new jutsu, Chidori, Sasuke had easily pierced Gaara's sand orb that was protecting him. But afterwards the orb had cracked, revealing Gaara holding a bloody shoulder, a look of total madness in his eyes. And that strange, different arm that had been attached to Sasuke as he jumped back from the hole was also worrying Naruto. He knew what that arm was, just by looking at it. He just felt it. The combination of the chakra and the appearance left nothing to his imagination. That arm was from Gaara's inner demon, Shukaku. What is that? His teacher, a tall man with silver hair and his forehead protector covering his left eye, said. Before he even realized it, Naruto answered the question. Shukaku. This fight is truly becoming interesting. Show me your power Sasuke-kun. You have already become this powerful without using my seal. But this is an opponent that you cannot defeat on your own. Seek out my power. Orochimaru thought to himself as he watched the fight between the Sand's most powerful shinobi and the boy he had chosen to become his next container. Involuntarily he gave a small chuckle. What's the matter Kazekage Dono? The old Hokage asked. It's rare to hear you amuse yourself like that. It is nothing Hokage-sama. He answered, assuming his role again. It's still too early. I want to see Sasuke-kun's potential. He didn't voice his thought though. Instead he smoothly told his old teacher a lie. But it has been the first time that I have actually seen Gaara wounded. As should be expected from the famous Uchiha clan. But I fear that he has passed the border with Gaara. When Gaara become enraged, he stops at nothing but complete murder. If a shinobi of the sand completely dominates against even one of the Uchiha clan it will improve our mission rate even more than I dared dream when I came here. The old man didn't answer, instead focusing his attention at the fight in the pit. Uchiha Sasuke. What's with this guy? Sasuke thought. I've hit him with Chidori but afterwards he nearly crushes my arm. And now that he's finally out of that cocoon of his, he looks totally different. What was he trying to do in there? I'll kill you. The Gaara sand monster shouted. Almost instantly he launched himself at Sasuke. What the? Sasuke acted quickly, dodging Gaara's attack and made some distance between the two of them. Before he only fought from a distance, not even moving. And now all of a sudden he starts using taijutsu. What's going on here? If it wasn't for my Sharingan I would have hardly be able to dodge it. Die. Again Gaara launched himself at Sasuke. This time he was prepared though. Come. Sasuke yelled. Using his Sharingan to the fullest Sasuke focused a high amount of chakra into his legs and sidestepped, dodging Gaara's attack. In the same motion he quickly kicked the sand shinobi, sending him off balance for a second. Never one to waste an opening, Sasuke quickly continued his attack. Making sure his attacks were as fast as possible, he quickly punched Gaara in the guy, followed by an elbow to the face. Now, he thought, going for a neck chop, to deal heavy damage. Arg. In his moment of attack, aiming for a critical area, Sasuke had opened his guard and Gaara instantly used it. With the giant arm of sand he slammed Sasuke away, into a wall. A wall on the other side of the stadium. Sasuke's vision was swimming. He couldn't see straight right now. The punch Gaara had given him had hurt unlike anything he ever got hit by. Even trying to stand up straight was a difficult task right now. Realizing he needed a few seconds to recover, Sasuke looked up. Gaara was not going to let him recover. He was already running towards him, probably intending to deal the finishing blow. Suddenly, Sasuke thought back to everything that happened years ago. The night his brother killed everyone in the clan. Remembering that his brother said that he should become the Avenger, destined to fight Itachi to the death, he felt hatred flowing over him again. And with the hatred came power. Performing the seals for Chidori, he shouted his thought, not even realizing it. Itachi, I will become an Avenger. I will kill you. As he shouted the last word, he charged Gaara. He didn't realize it, but suddenly the curse seal that Orochimaru had given him activated. It was the source of his new power and speed. While the two boys were racing towards each other determined to have only one survivor, in the stand a few of the leaf shinobi were scarred. Ino, Sakura, Shikamaru, Choji, Tenten and Neji, who had recovered a little during the fight between Shikamaru and Temari and was now watching the other matches, all remembered that instance in the Forest of Death when Sasuke had gained the markings on his body and crushed an entire team of shinobi single-handedly. Even Kakashi was getting worried, seeing how his seal was not helping contain the curse. It meant that Sasuke was experiencing great hatred and anger. What happened with Sasuke? Naruto asked. He, along with Kiba and Hinata, didn't have a clue about what was going on. None of the three had been present or awake last time Sasuke went berserk. Chidori, die. With those yells the teenage boys clashed. Sasuke, using the Chidori, cut Gaara's sand arm at the shoulder but Gaara himself was left unhurt. Meanwhile, Gaara, using his arm of sand before it was cut off, had managed to scratch Sasuke's arm, causing it to bleed just below the shoulder. Before either of the boys moved again, Gaara let out an eerie laugh, enough to scare the entire stadium. And even while laughing, the sand from his gourd reformed a new monster arm. But this time around, it was on his other arm. His dominant arm. Suddenly, so fast none of the ordinary villagers, lord and other non-shinobi could see, Gaara turned around and slammed Sasuke with his monster arm again. Not being able to react in time, Sasuke again went flying across the entire arena. Die, Uchiha Sasuke! Gaara shouted, jumping after Sasuke to go in for the kill. Literally. Up in the stands, Naruto was very close to actually wetting himself. Down there, in the ring, he saw his teammate and rival Uchiha Sasuke getting beaten up. The genius, last of the Uchiha was getting torn apart. And that's the guy the first have to fight next. There's no way I can win against someone like him. Naruto's thoughts were racing. Arg! A cry of pain suddenly sounded throughout the entire arena, drawing back Naruto's attention to the fight. Sasuke's still getting his kick down there. Isn't there something we can do? As he looked again, he saw Gaara go in for a simple kick. Alright, he shouted out, surprising everyone around him. Seeing their surprised looks he continued. If Gaara starts throwing such pathetically slow kicks, Sasuke can easily see them and counter with the Sharingan. And at that range, Gaara's huge arm is probably useless. He had regained hope. Now, an arm that size can't be swung as quickly as would be needed in close combat. With his Sharingan Sasuke would get the advantage back. They'd meet in the next round after all. No, Kakashi said. Sasuke's already used the Chidori twice and that's his limit. He hardly has any chakra left and added to that, with that curse seal activated, he probably has a lot of difficulty even breathing. He has no chance of winning this fight now. What? The Chidori is a high-level assignation technique. It's not meant to be used more than once in short succession. The amount of chakra it uses to perform is extremely large. I can only pull of about 4 a day, in combination with the Sharingan. Sasuke is nowhere near that amount yet and he still hasn't completely mastered the Sharingan. But, that would mean that, Naruto couldn't get him to finish the sentence. Yeah, that's right, Kakashi said, almost reading his thoughts. The strategy against Gaara was to win in one hit, using the Chidori. But Gaara's defenses were even better than I thought they would be. Die. Again Gaara's insane voice sounded through the stadium. Sasuke's body was sent flying by the force of his last blow. Even with the body still in midair, Gaara raised his hand, as if trying to grab him from a distance. Oh shit! Kiba exclaimed, having rushed over with Hinata when they saw the fuss that Naruto had been making. That's the movement for his killing attack. We have to move now. He yelled. Before he even said the last line, Naruto had already rushed down the steps, as low as the stands went. He could almost see Sasuke on eye level, still flying from the hit Gaara gave him. The sand was rapidly closing in on him now and Naruto recognized it from the fight with Lee. Without really thinking over what he was doing, he threw his right hand forward, moving it like he was throwing a ball. While doing so, he released the Kyuubi's chakra, sending it towards Sasuke. The chakra of the great demon fox, the strongest of the known demons, left from all 5 fingers of Naruto's hand, quickly moving towards Sasuke. In the meantime the sand of Gaara, using the power of Shukaku was also trying to wrap itself around the Uchiha. It would all come down to which of the two would be faster now. Sabaku Soso, Gaara yelled as he closed his fist, trying to crush the Uchiha to death. Sasuke. 2 yells sounded throughout the entire arena at once. Ironically both of the yells were from shinobi that were so much alike and yet so different at the same time. Both had been feared and hated from a young age, but they grew up very differently. Now, one of the two had lost his mind and had gone on a senseless killing spree and the other desperately tried to save his friend. Everyone in the stadium held in their breath as the exchange occurred. The figure that was once Uchiha Sasuke, the village's new hope as a genius shinobi, last of the Uchiha and the best rookie in his class, had been captured and was appeared to be a complete cocoon of sand. And that cocoon was crushing him at the hands of the young boy with a demon of sand sealed inside his body. But everyone could also see something else, even more amazing to the villagers. From the back of the cocoon, coming from up in the stands, 5 lines of red chakra had penetrated the cocoon. This chakra came from the one person every adult in the great village of Konoha had feared and hated. The hands of Uzumaki Naruto, the container of the greatest demon of them all. The 9-tails demon fox, Kyuubi. As far as the villagers could see, the two were fighting for the right to kill Sasuke. Down in the ring however, Gaara was getting even madder than he already was. Someone was trying to keep him from killing his prey. He'll pay for that. You'll be next, Uzumaki Naruto. But for now, I'll kill this Uchiha first. He managed to hurt me. By killing him he'll make me feel alive. With that, he crushed his monstrous hand tight, increasing the pressure on Sasuke. No, Naruto thought desperately. I can't let him do this. I can't let him kill my friends. Og, Naruto yelled as he flexed and then extended his hand in an instant. The results were instant and obvious for all to see. Still suspended in midair, the cocoon that had Uchiha Sasuke inside it, exploded. In that instant, all the well-trained shinobi could see what had happened. The red chakra from Naruto's hand had been wrapped around Sasuke before the sand could. It had worked as a shield for the boy and stopped the pressure. And now that Naruto had extended his hand fully, the chakra pushed all the sand away as well. Now free of his prison, Sasuke was suddenly falling in midair. He wouldn't be able to catch himself, he was too hurt, and a fall from that height without preparing for it would spell the end for the young boy. Not wasting a second, Kakashi quickly rushed forward and picked his student up in mid-fall, jumping over to the other side of the stadium. Laying him down, he made a quick check-up to see if Sasuke was still alive. Having made sure of his student's survival, he picked him up again and returned to the seats. What's going on here? Kakashi thought while walking. Since when can Naruto use the Kyuubi's chakra at will? Ebisu-sensei isn't such a fool to try and teach him that. If it went bad, the chakra could backfire and destroy the whole village. How did he learn to do that? Sakura, Ino and Choji quickly left their seats so the teacher could lay the wounded boy down. Even then his mind was still racing with everything he had just seen. He knew that Sasuke would be in more danger in the first round. That was why Kakashi had decided to train the Uchiha himself, leaving Naruto, who needed to increase his basics, with an excellent teacher. Don't tell me he actually learned to use it on his own. Kakashi almost shuddered at the mere thought. True, Naruto is a quick learner when he puts everything he has into it, but this would be a bit much. A dense guy like him would never think of a training where he has to use Kyuubi's chakra. Taking a single look at Guy, who only nodded back, Kakashi knew that his longtime rival was thinking the same thing. And more than that, these last few minutes a lot has happened. Gaara turning out to be an actual Jinchuriki, Sasuke having used his curse seal again, and finally, Naruto suddenly using Kyuubi's chakra. I guess Sasuke still doesn't have enough control over himself. Speaking of Jinchurukus, how come Gaara's been all quiet the last couple of minutes? And Naruto as well. Looking back, Kakashi saw Naruto and Gaara still standing where they were when he had moved in. They were still standing like statues, looking at each other, both with their arms still extended. From his position, he could easily see into Gaara's eyes. Those eyes were filled with bloodlust. Gaara's thought that moment were very clear. You have stolen my prey and now I'll make you pay for it. And now Naruto, how are you going to react to it? He idly wondered. Meanwhile down in the ring, the judge Genma had raised his hands. He was first worried about his own safety, seeing Gaara's behavior, but he still had to make the announcement. Winner. Gaara. Not unexpected, no one even moved a muscle after the announcement. After a few seconds that seemed to last for hours to Genma, Gaara started yelling again. Come down Uzumaki Naruto. I'll kill you. Make me feel alive. Get down here. The entire stadium held its breath, waiting for the response. Meanwhile, up in the seats for the cages Orochimaru was beginning to get really interested. Sasuke-kun wasn't able to win after all, but the Uzumaki boy actually stopped the crushing sand of that Gaara. He's used the Kyuubi's chakra twice now. I'm sure that my seal has been removed. But now I'm starting to get interested. Have you surpassed Sasuke-kun for the time being? Show me and show Sasuke-kun. Yes, show him that you've grown and send him right into my arms. Having trouble containing himself, Orochimaru gave a small chuckle. Seeing the surprised look on his old teacher's face, he quickly made up an answer. My apologies, Hokage-sama. I did not mean to sound rude, but this is truly a golden opportunity. Not only has Gaara defeated a member of the Uchiha clan, he will now also fight against the man who defeated a Hyuga. His victory will truly be a blessing for the sand. I see. But do not count on victory yet, the fight hasn't even started yet. Maybe, sensei, maybe. But I doubt that a piece of trash like him could defeat Gaara. Still in the same position that he had taken when he tried to rescue Sasuke, Naruto was confused. What did I just do? I saved Sasuke, didn't I? But how did I do that? Looking down, he looked Gaara right in the eyes. Seeing the bloodlust and madness in them, Naruto got scared like he never had been, even more scared than he had been against Zabuza. No, I can't fight him. He's too strong. He suddenly started looking around, feeling very much like a fox caught in a dog hunt. Kakashi walked up to Naruto from behind. Seeing him shake like that, he got worried. Naruto, are you okay? Kakashi-sensei. Naruto spoke up, actually sounding a bit timid for once. Tell me, do you think this guy is strong? He defeated Sasuke and fuzzy brows. I'm scared. This guy's the same as me, but he's so much stronger. He's always gotten by on his own, unlike me. What should I do? Well, Naruto. Kakashi started, trying to think up an answer to his question. I will admit that this guy is no pushover. He's powerful, but that doesn't always mean that he's strong. You have every right to be scared of someone as fearsome as him. But tell me, Naruto, as they both turned and looked at each other again, Kakashi continued. Since when do you run from your problems? What happened to the brave and stupid shinobi that attacked a swordsman of the mist without fear? Wincing at the harsh voice of his sensei, Naruto tried to speak up. But, sensei, this guy, you just said that he's the same as you, didn't you? Doesn't that mean that you're the only one that can fight him on equal grounds? Huh, no, I couldn't fight a guy like him. He's someone that has hurt your comrades, and right now you're the only one that can beat him. Are you telling me that you'll give up on them and let Gaara go unpunished? If so, you disappoint me. I guess you're right, sensei. I wouldn't make much of a Hokage if I did that, huh? Naruto answered, half-heartedly. Turning around, Naruto walked towards the group of shinobi and Sasuke, who was still lying on the seats. Seeing the strange, almost grim look on his face, the group instantly went quiet. Sasuke stirred a bit as he struggled to see Naruto's face. He had already come to, and he had also heard Gaara's scream moments ago. Naruto. Ino said suddenly. Don't tell me you're going up against that guy as well. He's a monster. Even Sasuke-kun couldn't defeat him. A monster, huh? He answered gloomy, almost whispering. I guess you're right. Stepping past Ino, he walked up to Sasuke and spoke up. Sasuke. I'm sorry, but it looks like, he struggled with his words suddenly. We won't have our fight after all. I'm sorry. And with that, he suddenly turned around and walked down the steps that would lead him into the arena down below. Surprised by the dark tone in his words, all the other shinobi looked at his back as he walked down the steps. What the hell was that all about? Kiba said as soon as Naruto was out of their sight. Naruto-kun, Hinata started. He doesn't think he'll come back. Sakura finished for her. What? The others all shouted. No one noticed that Kakashi still hadn't moved from where he had spoken to Naruto, or the fact that Guy had moved himself and now stood next to his rival. Why on earth did you do that, Kakashi? The boy's too scared to fight this opponent. He'll get killed. The loud man almost yelled. I know, Guy, but there's a reason I said Naruto should fight him. You already knew, didn't you? That boy, Gaara, and Naruto are the same. They are both Jinchuriki who have been hated and feared throughout their lives. And it's because Gaara has always survived on his own, Naruto got scared. He's forgotten the meaning of his own strength and only looks at the opponents. And right now, with the way Gaara is, Naruto is the only one who has the ability to defeat him. You saw it, didn't you? He used Kyuubi's chakra to save Sasuke. As he is now, he probably doesn't stand a chance against Gaara, but if he were to overcome his fear, Naruto would show him all the corners of the ring. I still think it's too much of a risk. There's too big a chance that he stays scared and can't fight at all. And if that happens, he'll be killed without a fight. Then you don't know Uzumaki, Naruto. And I don't want to hear you about risky tactics. Now then, Genma announced, as Naruto walked into the arena with his shoulders hanging. At that moment, he really looked like a person ready for his execution. Gaara turned around the instant the blonde had stepped in and never once stopped looking at him. Now that both fighters are present, let the semifinals begin. Naruto Arachiadori. Now then, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru thought. Show me what you are capable of. You could control Kyuubi's power to the point where even a Hyuga was no match and you deflected Gaara's attack. Show me if you are a threat to Akatsuki. Show me if you are a threat to ME. It seems that this year will present a lot of opportunities for the sand, do you agree, Hokage-sama? he said to his old teacher, still in the act of being the cage. Yes, I myself am impressed by the power that your shinobi have shown today, as well as in the preliminaries. However, do not claim victory when the fight has not even started yet, Cage Dono. The fight has not even started yet and his next opponent has defeated the greatest genius in the Hyuga clan. The Hokage answered. Yes, he continued, as if to himself. It will be a fight between those that have defeated the bloodline limits. Only in his thoughts did he finish the line. It will be a fight between something fair worse than bloodline limits. A fight between Jinchuriki. I'm not sure the stadium could hold a fight like this. Let's just hope that Naruto does indeed have control over the Kyuubi's power, otherwise he'll certainly die. Let the semifinal battle begin. As soon as the words left Genma's mouth, Gaara rushed forward attacking for the kill right away. His sand arm hit Naruto before he could even react. Die. Arg. Before Naruto had even realized it, he had landed, feet first, on the wall of the arena. The force of Gaara's attack had sent him flying all across the stadium, just like it had done with Sasuke. But Naruto, unlike Sasuke, could still move and his reflexes, honed by months of training, allowed him to flip in mid-air, thus causing him to land on his feet and minimize the damage. As soon as Naruto looked up though, Gaara was close enough for their noses to be touching. Again, Naruto couldn't move before Gaara slammed him into the walls. And this time, Naruto had no way of reducing the damage. As Gaara drew back his arm to go in for a third strike, Naruto looked up at the stands. Kakashi was still standing there, just like how he stood during their talk. But now, all the others, with Sasuke leaning heavily on Kiba and Choji, had gathered as well to watch the fight. Seeing the look on his teacher's face, Naruto thought back to the words that Kakashi had said just moments before. Moments that felt like an eternity to him. You just said that he's the same as you, didn't you? Doesn't that mean that you're the only one that can fight him on equal grounds? I was right. He is too strong for me to fight with. I can't hope to defeat someone like this. Naruto thought as the giant arm slammed into him for the third time now. He could feel the walls behind him cracking under the power. Someone like this, he's too strong. He's always lived on his own. I know how terrible it feels, but he's always stayed there, never seeking the help of others. I can't hope to win against him. Before the monstrous arm slammed into him a fourth time, Naruto could feel himself being lifted into the air and he was thrown around the stadium once again. As Naruto looked up, cursing the demon fox inside of him for its healing, he saw Gaara rushing out at him again. But this time, he also saw something different. Someone he had not seen in a very long time. Up in the stands, the people were in a variety of opinions for the fight. Sakura could clearly hear people shouting at Naruto to get up and fight back, while others were yelling with glee that her friend and teammate was about to be killed in this tournament. Yet a third group of people was yelling that he had to get up and defeat Gaara for the honor of Konoha and to avenge everything he's done to Sasuke-kun. And all of the shinobi that actually knew Naruto and had seen what Gaara was capable of, were yelling at him to give up and surrender so he could at least survive. But why are some of these people so glad that Naruto is getting beaten by that thing? She thought. She had always known Naruto was not well liked. It was obvious for everyone from the way he was treated on the street, to the teachers in the academy and even her own parents' reaction when they heard of her teammates. Why does everyone hate Naruto like that? What has he ever done wrong? Pranks don't earn you this kind of hatred today. Damn it, Naruto. Kiba was yelling beside her. This guy isn't normal, so just get the hell out of there. He'll tear you to pieces, you moron. I told you not to go against this guy. Ino added, and, like with Kiba, concern was evident in her voice. Next to her, Shikamaru was standing, looking at the fight below. In his mind, he was reviewing the conversation he and Naruto had with Gaara the day before, back in the hospital. He had, back then, already realized that he would stand no chance against Gaara and, if Naruto's bluff was right, Gaara was facing the only opponent in the village that could fight him. But Gaara was winning big time. As Naruto looked up to see Gaara storming at him again, he suddenly saw something behind him that reminded Naruto of something that had happened almost a year ago. In his mind, he was suddenly back in a flower field, a flight that was in the country of the wave. He could see a person standing in front of him, talking with a small smile on his face. If Naruto had not known it was a boy, he would mistake him for a girl all over again. I remember where this was. During the training to take on Zabuza, I met this boy and we talked. But why can't I remember what it was he said? Do you? It was all that Naruto could remember about the words. Before he had time to consider more words, Gaara attacked him again. Going for a different attack pattern this time, Gaara punched Naruto into the sky before jumping after him. He continued the attack by quickly kicking Naruto in mid-air. The kick, although not executed by a monster-shaped limb, was still powered up by the chakra of Shukaku and caused Naruto to be slammed into the audience. He met Kiba and the others head-on, accidentally slamming his head into Kiba's. Arg! Both boys yelled at the same time. Being quick to recover, Kiba quickly started yelling at Naruto. What do you think you're doing, you moron? Are you trying to freaking kill me? Before Naruto could give his normal witty response, or someone else interfere, they were suddenly covered by a shadow. Looking up they saw Gaara standing there, but the sand was starting to wrap around more of his body. When everything went silent again, the only things that were left normal of Gaara were his legs, his hair and the tattoo for love on his forehead. The rest of his body had all been covered in sand, making him appear like a miniature version of Shukaku. Show me, Gaara suddenly demanded, not shouting for the first time since being hit by the Chidori. Show me the power that defeated the Hyuga. The power that stopped my attack. I'll crush it. Naruto, still not standing up after his collision with Kiba, was only looking at Gaara with fear in his eyes. For everyone there, except his teammates, it was the first time they saw the loudmouth blonde look like that, and it was unsettling. If even Naruto, the idiot who they always thought was too stupid to even know what fear is, was scared of this guy, it could only mean real trouble. As he looked around, hoping that Naruto would bring out that strange red power of his, Gaara saw the look in the eyes of all the people around him. Every single one of them held great fear for him. Every person in the stadium was afraid of him and he loved it. He was feeling alive like never before. And he had yet to kill his opponent. He was already looking forward to that point. As he looked around again, he saw that the blonde shinobi before him still hadn't stood up. Instead he was only looking at Gaara, the fear in his eyes more obvious than with anyone else. Deciding it was time to end this and feel alive again, Gaara moved in for the kill. He lifted his arms up, parallel to the ground and, without even moving himself, extended them to unreal lengths, ready to slam his opponent to his death by cracking his ribs. It would be slow and painful, payment for taking his other prey away. Naruto could see it happen, almost as if it were in slow motion. Gaara raising his arms, getting ready to kill him. The arms extended, monstrous hands quickly closing in on him, aiming to crush his chest. He closed his eyes, too afraid to see the inevitable in the eye, instead waiting for the pain to come. It never did. Confused, Naruto looked up. Gaara's arms were at Naruto's sides, slammed into the wall. And in those hands, now nailed to the wall, were Hyuga Hinata and Haruno Sakura. When Naruto had closed his eyes, both girls had jumped in trying to protect Naruto. Gaara could clearly see everything that had happened. Just before he could kill his prey, those two girls jumped in. Normally Gaara wouldn't have cared and simply gone for his prey before killing them. But there was something different about this situation. Their eyes. It were the same eyes that the teacher of his opponent in the preliminaries had. The eyes that Gaara hated the most, that scared him because he could not understand what they meant. So instead, he changed the direction of his attack and instead had the girls slammed into the walls. Looking back at his prey, he could see the blonde switching his gaze between both girls. These two, Gaara started, drawing Naruto's attention again. What are they to you? He asked. And just as suddenly, he could see a small bit of fire burning in the eyes of his opponents as he answered. They're my friends. Naruto shouted. The fire in his eyes was small, but at least it was there. Gaara had found the way for this enemy to really make him feel alive. Don't you dare hurt them. I'll kick your if you do. Naruto yelled. Gaara responded by pushing a bit more, causing both girls to scream out loud in pain. What's wrong? Gaara taunted. Weren't you going to kick my? Not having any more options, Naruto decided on the obvious thing. For the first time since the start of the fight, he took the offensive. Even thought they were still in the middle of the crowd, Naruto charged. But even with the small amount of courage he had managed to gather suddenly, he was no match for Gaara. In a second, his tail swept Naruto away, causing him to slam into one of the many pillars that stood before the entire crowd. As he slid down from the pillar, sitting down on the ground, he looked at Hinata and Sakura again. No, he said, sounding much weaker than he had ever sounded. I've got to save them. His voice was little more than a whisper now, but it could still be heard all across the stadium. Then suddenly something happened that no one had expected. Gaara suddenly laughed out loud, mocking Naruto's words. Save them, so you fight for the sake of others. That's why you're so weak. Suddenly and slowly, he brought his sand arms back to their previous length. But instead of releasing Hinata and Sakura, the girls were still covered in sand shaped like Gaara's hand. Without even blinking an eye, Gaara continued his talk. You don't need a reason to fight. Only the winner can truly feel the value of his existence. Now, forget about your stupid friends and fight only for yourself. He yelled. Without him even realizing it, Naruto's fist tightened at his side. Stupid friends, he said, his voice shaking with sudden anger. Not even batting an eyelash at the sudden change in Naruto, Gaara continued again. People who bring needless emotions into battle should just die. He said, taunting Naruto some more. You just keep saying what you want. I swear, I'll beat you up. Naruto yelled back, not fazed by the taunt. Moving quickly, he rushed towards Gaara, throwing a few shuriken at the same time. You guys don't know the meaning of being truly strong. Was all Gaara said before he moved in for the counterattack. Naruto didn't have time to answer as he slammed into Gaara, hitting him for the first time since the fight started. As their eyes locked, Gaara suddenly looked away, giving Naruto the opening he needed. He quickly punched him twice in the stomach, hoping for Gaara to feel the pain. Unfortunately, the sand that had formed around his body was now acting much like the armor of sand, except even thicker. Gaara didn't even feel Naruto's attack. Slamming him with his arms once again, Gaara pushed Naruto back into the arena. Even with the force behind the attack, Naruto managed to land on his feet in the arena. That sand will crush them to a slow death. It's filled with my chakra and unless I die, they won't be released. Now come. Gaara spoke, still standing in the viewer's sitting area. Seeing that Naruto made no attempts to move, he spoke up again. You don't care what happens to your precious friends. From behind him, Naruto could hear Hinata and Sakura suddenly yelling out in pain. What can I do? Naruto thought desperately. Unless I kill this guy, Hinata and Sakura-chan are gone. But I can't hope to defeat him, he's too strong. Wait, if I can draw his attention away long enough, I'm sure Kakashi-sensei could get them down safely. Looking around in hopes of catching his sensei's eye, he couldn't find the older man. Before he had time to do a complete search though, Gaara jumped into the air, going in for another attack. As Gaara jumped up, Naruto looked him in the eye. Without even knowing why, he was suddenly reminded about what the Sand Shinobi had said mere moments before. You guys don't know the meaning of being truly strong. At the same time, he also thought back to that time at the flower field in the country of the wave. That's when a person becomes truly strong, but it were all the words he could remember. That's right. Haku, he told me, what it meant to be strong. But I can't remember. Gaara's right. I don't know the meaning of strength. But until Kakashi-sensei manages to get Hinata and Sakura-chan down, how can I even hope to distract him long enough? Then it hit him like a ton of bricks. The training he had been doing for the last month. It was time to put it to use. I'll have to summon the frog boss. Quickly flashing through the seals in the order he had memorized already, he quickly bit the thumb of his right hand for the blood. Slamming his hand down on the ground, he yelled the jutsu's name. Kuchio's no jutsu. Kuchio's no jutsu. As Naruto yelled out his new jutsu's name, all the higher-ranked shinobi looked dumbstruck. It was quite common knowledge among the Chhunins how a summoning technique worked. It required the writing of a contract with the animals you would be summoning as well as a mass of chakra. It was almost unheard of for anything below Chhunin to be able to use a technique like that. But of course that was not what had most adults worried right then. Every single person that knew the truth, whether they knew Naruto in person or they had only heard the rumors about him, was thinking and fearing the same thing. Did he make a contract with the foxes? Meanwhile, back with the rookie 9, minus Shino and Naruto of course, Kiba was about to use his claws to cut Hinata and Sakura free from the sand, when he suddenly felt a hand on his shoulder, holding him in place. Looking up at the owner, he was looking in the eye of Hatake Kakashi. What are you doing? The boy yelled. Now that the sand guy isn't here, we have to get Hinata and Sakura down. No, was the simple answer. Before anyone could ask the copy ninja anything else, he quickly raised his hand in the air, a signal to the other shinobi present not to interfere unless ordered by a higher rank, preventing Gaara from getting disqualified even after endangering the audience. Turning around and seeing the shocked faces that all of the shinobi had at him, Hatake Kakashi, the man who treasured teamwork more than anything, suddenly abandoning the two-leaf girls, he continued. As soon as Naruto saw his two companions, his friends, in danger, he was able to fight back. Before that point, he could hardly move. I think that Naruto is capable of defeating Gaara, even as that boy is now. It all depends on whether or not Naruto can remember what his strength is. But Kakashi, Guy said, what if Naruto doesn't remember his strength in time? You'll have condemned 3 shinobi to their deaths. No, I won't. Kakashi simply said. I know Sakura and her limits. She can probably last about 3 minutes like that, maybe a little more. Hinata is physically stronger than Sakura, so she'll last longer. If Naruto doesn't remember in 3 minutes, I'll take them down from that wall and save Naruto if I have to. It was at that point that Naruto's voice sounded through the entire stadium, yelling his technique. What the? Kakashi thought. Since when can he do a summoning technique? What did Ebisu-sensei teach him in this month? Controlling the Kyuubi's chakra, using summoning, the more I think about it, the less likely it seems for Ebisu-sensei to have taught him something like that. But then, who was it? As the smoke slowly faded down in the arena, it showed an orange-red frog, wearing a blue jacket. Just like the Toad boss. Only it was 100 times as small. Yo! The little toad exclaimed, raising his arm to Naruto in a greeting. Seeing the little animal, everyone in the crowd that had feared the appearance of a fox let out a sigh of relief. Damn it, Naruto thought. This guy is way too small. He won't be of any use. Haha, this is what you depend on. Pathetic. Now die. Gaara yelled. Raising his arm in front of him and quickly swimming it forward, he sent out a large number of small sand bursts. Suna Shuriken, he yelled. Oh crap. Acting on instinct, Naruto grabbed the little frog and curled around it, protecting it from the hit. What the? Kakashi thought. I expected a lot of things to appear but not a frog. There's only one person that can give the summoning contract for frogs. Taking a quick look at Guy gave Kakashi all the info he needed. They were thinking along the same lines. It looks like Jiraiya-sama is back. Kakashi said. Yes. There's no other option. He's the only one who could give the summon contract for the frogs. Jiraiya? Kiba asked, a confused look on his face. Jiraiya-sama, Tenten said, having come over to check up on Lee mere seconds before. He's one of the 3 legendary Sannin of Konoha. She continued. He's the master of toad-like ninjutsu. But he left the village about a decade or 2 ago, right? Why's he back now? It is true that he left Konoha a long time ago, but he never became a missing nin. He has simply gone wandering, but never turned his back on Konoha. Kakashi answered. Only in his thoughts did he continue the sentence. But, why would a shinobi like him suddenly return and take Naruto under his wing? He hasn't trained anyone since the 4th. Kakashi. Why do I have to mess it up now? A frog like this is useless. Naruto thought out loud. Hey, I'm not useless. The frog responded, his pride obviously hurt. I'll let you know I'm a powerful being, but I'm not experienced enough to fight against something like this yet. As he said the last part, the frog turned his head away, not daring to look at Naruto. So, in other words, you're useless. Naruto simply said. The frog turned around to retort when all of a sudden a shout sounded through the stadium again. The frog quickly leapt away from Naruto, trying to move to safer grounds. Naruto instead tried to launch another headfirst attack. Focusing some chakra into his legs, Naruto jumped up and quickly flashed through some seals. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Next to him a dozen clones appeared in midair, all aiming for the sand monster that was Gaara. Gaara responded by taking in a large amount of air, all in one breath. As he exhaled it, multiple mouths appeared across his body, blowing back the air as Gaara shouted the technique's name. Mugen Sajin Daitappa. Arg. The force of the technique instantly dispelled all of the clones and sent Naruto flying across the stadium once again. As Naruto was still struggling to get back up, his entire body hurting and shacking, he heard Gaara yell out another technique. Suna Shuriken. This time, Naruto couldn't even react fast enough to curl himself up to reduce the damage. He took the full brunt of the attack and was slammed back into the walls hard. He's really strong. I can't win against someone like this. But, what is this feeling? He thought to himself. For some reason, I really feel. Through his confusion he looked up to see the figure of his attacker slowly approaching, an eerie grin of bloodlust on his twisted and changed face. Gaara launched yet another volley of Suna Shuriken and again Naruto couldn't defend himself. He had lost count of the amount of times he had been slammed into the walls, but it had really started to hurt. If he had looked back, instead of up, he would also have seen that after the last attack, his body had been sent back with enough force to make a vertical crater in the wall. Instead he still looked at Gaara as he finally discovered what his feeling was. I feel like I really don't want to lose to this guy. Looked up at Gaara, he saw it again. Up in the sky, behind his opponent, he could see the image of a boy with long black hair, his face hidden behind a mist's Anbu mask. Both his hands filled with needles as he spoke. But still, Naruto couldn't hear the words. He could remember a part of the question. Something, another part, but he couldn't link it together. Become truly strong. What was it? What did he say to me? And why can't I remember it? Before he even realized what it was he was doing, Naruto drew out a kunai and an explosive tag. He wrapped the tag around the kunai before, for the second time in the entire fight, take the offensive against Gaara. Flashing his hands through the seals, he yelled the name of his favorite technique. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Almost instantly, 4 clones of Naruto appeared at his side, each of them knew the plan and ready to go for it. It seems like he's finally getting ready to fight. Guy said, standing next to Kakashi. Are you going to cut those girls down now? No, not yet. Kakashi answered, though he was also worried. Naruto has decided to fight from the looks of it, but he still hasn't made his mind up. I don't know what's going on in his head, but for some reason he's struggling with himself over something. I think I know what it is. Shikamaru suddenly spoke up. He had moved over to watch the fight as well, along with Sasuke and Lee. What do you mean? Kakashi asked, though he didn't turn to remove his eye from the fight. Yesterday, after Naruto woke up, he and I were planning to go and see Choji. Naruto wanted to taunt him a bit, but on the way we walked past Lee's room. We noticed Gaara was inside, attempting to kill him, so we stepped in. I held Gaara down with Kage main no jutsu while we were trying to figure out a way to save Lee. We got Gaara talking and it really messed Naruto up bad. They were both saying some pretty strange things to each other, but it was Gaara's response to Naruto's statement of being undefeatable that shook him up. Tell me exactly what they said to each other. Kakashi ordered as he finally looked away from the fight. What Shikamaru just said had gotten his full attention. Just how much did Naruto tell? Well, this is really troublesome, but I'll try. Shikamaru started. Gaara first said that he'd kill us, to which Naruto responded by saying, "You can't defeat me, I've got a real monster sealed inside of me." After that, Gaara retorted by saying that if that was so, they were the same. Naruto started to lose it after Gaara said he always survived on his own. But like I said, it's pretty weird. Why are these guys such troublesome weirdos? I see, Kakashi said as he turned his head back to the fight, seeing Gaara attack Naruto and his clones. Thanks for telling me that, it helps clear up a lot. Well, Kakashi, care to share what you just discovered? Guy said, irritated that his rival again acted like he had all the answers. Well, Guy, Kakashi started as Naruto started a number of evasive maneuvers by using the Kage Bunshin. It's like this. Naruto has always been alone, his entire life. In that regard, he's the same as Gaara. But the difference lies in the fact that Naruto has always tried to make others acknowledge him for who he is and eventually made friends, while Gaara always did everything on his own. As someone who understands the pain of being hated and feared for no apparent reason, Naruto knows the pain Gaara went through and probably believes him to be incredibly strong because of that. Down in the ring, Naruto had managed, with the help of some maneuvering in midair thanks to his Kage Bunshin, to get behind Gaara, who was still in midair after his initial attack. He quickly formed the Tiger Seal with his hands, taking the kunai with the explosive tag around it in between his extended fingers. Take this. The taijutsu technique that Kakashi-sensei taught me, Konoha's secret taijutsu ultimate technique, 1000 years of pain. He quickly extended his arms, shoving the kunai in the area where, with a normal person, their butthole would be. Unfortunately, Gaara was no normal person right now, so instead the kunai got stuck in the sand that was still protecting and changing Gaara's body. While everyone in the audience fell over backwards by the idiot technique, Gaara responded by hitting Naruto in the face with his tail. Hard. Due to the force behind the slam, Naruto went flying across the arena once again. Kakashi, don't tell me you actually taught him a move like that. Guy asked his eternal rival. Even he was a bit shocked by the technique and, though he could see that it would really hurt a human enemy, thought it was a weird move. No, I used it on him during the bell test. I can't believe he actually thought it was a real technique. Kakashi responded, feeling ashamed that Naruto had yelled who showed him the technique. As Naruto was still trough the air, he said a single word. A single word completed his last attack sequence. Boom. Kaboom. Suddenly, without any warning, Gaara's body exploded from what looked like the inside. Naruto's plan had succeeded. Gaara had not removed the kunai that was stuck and now the explosive tag had detonated, causing massive damage. Back up in the stands, everyone was flabbergasted. Naruto, you really are the number one in surprising people. Kakashi thought to himself. You even managed to turn a joke technique into a deadly weapon. Even though it was obvious to everyone that Naruto had won the last exchange, when the smoke cleared and both boys were visible again, neither of the two was in a good state to continue the fight. Gaara had crashed into the ground after the explosion and his sand body had well over half of its volume destroyed by the explosion. As it was, had lost his right sand arm and tail, as well as having a reduced movement speed. But on the other side, Naruto had been slammed into the walls again with such force that he had made a crater the department of his upper leg and had trouble getting back out. Still, despite being as hurt as he was, Naruto again looked around. The angle he was lying in made it possible for him to see his opponent, and he was feeling eerily content about the damage he had inflicted. He may not have been able to win, but he had at least managed to hurt the much stronger Sand Shinobi. As his gaze went up, he could see Kakashi-sensei standing next to Shikamaru and Fuzzy Brow Sensei. And behind those three he could see them. Hyuga Hinata and Haruno Sakura, both of them pinned to the wall because of him, slowly being crushed to death. Not even taking time to worry why his sensei hadn't freed them yet, Naruto's thought instead went on a different path. Why did they risk their lives to save me? Before he could begin to question it further, he suddenly saw Haku yet again up in the sky. Again he was talking. He could suddenly hear the words he said clearly. Because they are strong. Suddenly, without even moving his eyes away from the girls, Naruto started seeing events that had happened before, images from his previous missions. A large lake in a country far away, covered in an unnatural mist. Sasuke and Naruto felt afraid when suddenly Kakashi-sensei spoke up. Don't worry. I don't let my comrades die. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto thought as he moved one hand to grab the ledge of the crater. As Naruto opened his eyes, he could see Sasuke standing in front of him with Haku down on the floor. Suddenly, without warning, Sasuke fell backwards. As Naruto grabbed him, he saw all the needles sticking out of his body. Why? He shouted. I don't know. My body just moved on its own. Sasuke. His other hand had also grabbed the ledge, ready to pull himself out of the hole he was in. Showing the area of the Chhunin exam's preliminary rounds. As Naruto was standing up in the stands, Hinata was fighting her cousin Neji. Even though she was being beaten up, she stood and suddenly spoke the words that he remembered saying himself, so long ago. I won't give up. That's my way of the ninja. Hinata. Now he had pulled himself out of the hole, standing in front of it, looking down at the ground. Again, showing the area of the preliminaries. Lee standing up, even though he had already passed out. Fuzzy brows. Still looking down, Naruto suddenly started talking. Though his voice was little more than a whisper, in the silence that had grown across the arena everyone could hear his words clear as day. Because he was like me, because he lived feeling the same kind of loneliness that I did, I thought he was strong because he survived that solitude, fighting only for himself. He died trying to protect those he cared for. He was truly a strong shinobi. As Naruto started looking up slowly, he continued. But I was wrong. His strength isn't real. Strength doesn't come from fighting alone. Naruto was sitting in a field full of flowers, next to Haku. He was listening intensely as the girly-looking boy spoke. Do you have something you want to protect? When a person has something they want to protect, regardless whether it's a dream, a person or a place, that's when they become truly strong. For some reason I've been seeing his face throughout this fight, but I didn't know why. I think I understand now. I don't know if he was sending me a message from the next life, or I was simply imagining things, but now I finally remember Haku's words. And I know that real strength isn't what you have when you're fighting for only yourself. When you have something special you want to protect. Naruto shouted. Clapping his hands together in the seal of the tiger again, he started to gather his chakra. The chakra he was summoning was swirling around him, almost like a great blue aura. Finally, he raised his head up, looking Gaara in the eye and allowing everyone else to see his eyes as well. The fear that had been present a moment before was completely gone, and now, only determination and the desire to protect were left. Only then can you become truly strong. As soon as Kakashi saw the way Naruto was trying to pull himself out of the hole, he knew something had changed. The entire fight, Naruto's body had been shaking with fear and doubts, but now, as he was having trouble to get his feet on the ground, the shaking was being reduced until it stopped. Behold, Kakashi said to Guy and the others, knowing his student well enough to know the change that was coming in this fight. This fight is only just starting. Everyone except for Sasuke, who had seen the obnoxious blonde take on Momouchi Zabuza head-on, looked at him like Kakashi had grown a second head, until suddenly Naruto spoke up. They immediately noticed his old confidence was back, even stronger than before. And he was speaking softly, only in a whisper to himself, but they could still hear his words clear as day. Because he was like me, because he lived feeling the same kind of loneliness that I did, I thought he was strong because he survived that solitude, fighting only for himself. They could all see Naruto's head rising slowly, turning his face towards the sand shinobi. But I was wrong. His strength isn't real. Strength doesn't come from fighting alone. For some reason I've been seeing his face throughout this fight, but I didn't know why. I think I understand now. No one, not even his teammates, knew what Naruto was talking about. I don't know if he was sending me a message from the next life, or I was simply imagining things, but now I finally remember Haku's words. And I know that real strength isn't what you have when you're fighting for only yourself. I see, Kakashi thought. So he was thinking about that boy. Not surprising, seeing how Naruto considered him to be so strong. Whatever happens, he said, addressing the rookies and his rival as he turned away himself, don't take your eyes off this fight. Because just now the real Naruto woke up. The real fight. Kakashi took a small pause as he gathered some chakra into his hands, getting ready to cut through the sand that had the two young kunoichi pinned to the wall. When you have something special you want to protect, Naruto shouted, his hands forming the seal of the tiger, as he gathered all of his chakra. His chakra started to swirl around him. Show them Naruto. Show them the meaning of real strength. In one fluid motion, Kakashi freed both his student and the heir to the Hyuga clan. Begins now. Kakashi finished as he caught the two young girls. How can he still have this much chakra left? One of the genin shouted. Is he for real? Only then can you become truly strong. Where is this chakra coming from? Gaara thought to himself. The last attack had made it impossible for him to move, and now, all of a sudden, his enemy had gained a tremendous increase in chakra. And those eyes. I hate those eyes. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto had quickly formed all the seals for his favorite technique and, with his current chakra, an unheard of number of clones appeared, filling up the entire arena. Everyone in the arena, even Naruto's own team member and teacher, who was still tending to Hinata and Sakura, had never seen this amount of Kage Bunshin, let alone when the technique is used by a genin. Get ready. All the clones shouted at once, making the shout echo throughout the arena, loud enough for half the village to hear. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Are you ready? Because, from this point on, I'm starting the fight. This time it was only the original that was talking. Not taking his eyes off Gaara, Naruto raised one hand into the sky, shouting an order for all his clones. All right, everyone, let's go. A large number of the clones near instantly jumped up, every one of them reaching different heights, to form something that resembled a large, orange and blonde sphere. A sphere Gaara could not escape from. Each of them pulled out a few shuriken, ready for throwing them at Gaara, when again they shouted as one. Shihohapo Shuriken no Maki. All the clones sent the shuriken flying at the same time, resulting in a black screen of shuriken rapidly closing in on Gaara, an attack that no normal human would have been able to survive. But Gaara was no normal human. Realizing he could not evade or counter, due to the explosive 1,000 years of pain that he had suffered before, he instead raised his arm of sand to protect the weakest parts of his body, letting the sand defend his body. Amazing. Lee was truly stunned by the performance that Naruto was putting on. Not only had the blonde loudmouth defeated the Hyuga Neji that he had dreamed of defeating, but now he had instantly turned the tables on Gaara as well. A feat that not even the fabled genius, Uchiha Sasuke, could do. Naruto-kun, you truly are amazing. It makes me jealous to see just how strong you are. And you are still called a dropout. When I see you like this, I truly start believing we, as dropouts, can overcome all difficulties. Yes, you have a true fire of youth. You are truly strong. What's going on? Lee's teammate, Tenten, suddenly spoke up. He's thrown that many shuriken, but only a few have hit. Gaara, as he is now, is a big target. How can he miss like that? Looking down again, everyone noticed what she was saying. With all of his clones and the real Naruto still down there as well, over 100 shuriken had been thrown. Yet Gaara had only been hit by a few, probably not even 20 in total. It's because he used the shuriken in the same way all shinobi do. Guy spoke up, looking at Naruto with a newfound respect. He used the shuriken to force Gaara into a defensive position, creating a clear opening for a direct attack. That was the real purpose of the shuriken, creating an opening for all the clones to attack. True to Guy's prediction, all the clones moved in for a massive taijutsu attack. Let's go. Gaara saw what it was Naruto was doing, but he couldn't react to it in time. 5 clones, which had not jumped up with the rest, suddenly came into close combat range with a slide, all their weight resting on one hand and one leg, with the other leg ready for a kick. All 5 clones kicked him at once, the force behind it enough to send him into the air. As soon as he was in the air, the clones that had jumped the lowest neared him as well, almost as if Naruto had carefully calculated everything. They too kicked him, sending him flying even higher. Gaara reached the 3rd level of clones. With each higher push, more clones were around to hit him. And every single hit hurt like hell. This round came in with fists, placed for an uppercut. All clones hit at once, again sending him flying higher. If he had looked to the side, he would have seen that he was at eye level with the audience, maybe he would even see Hinata and Sakura get up with wide eyes at the sudden turn of the battle. The next group of clones, again bigger than before, sent him right into the center of the biggest group of clones, even higher than the seats that were occupied by the cages. Then, every single clone that he could see came flying to him at once, fist posed for different kind of strikes. Naruto Nissen Renden. All of the clones punched at the same time, a combination of rights, lefts, uppercuts, downward punches and everything that would be in between. The combination of punch caused almost all of Gaara's sand to be destroyed by the damage and it, strangely enough, kept him in the place he had been when they attacked. With all the damage done to his body, from both the 1,000 years of pain and the last attack combination, left Gaara completely unable to move his body for a second. In that 1 second 2 more clones, standing on the back of 2 others to gain additional speed, attacked from above. No Maki. Without the sand to absorb the damage and the additional speed gained from standing on the back of other clones, the punch did a large amount of damage. The force behind it caused the last of the sand around Gaara's body to be blown away, leaving his torso completely unprotected, and sent him flying straight towards the ground. A combination of a powerful, speed-boosted double punch along with a fall of well over 30 meters high and the inability to move or guard himself in any way, meant that Gaara would not like his landing at all. In fact, he was sure he was about to know the real meaning of the word pain. He was right. As he crashed into the ground, his landing caused a crater of almost a meter deep to appear, not saving him from the damage at all. Instead, the ground caused even more damage to his body. Never before had Gaara felt anything like it. As he was still trying to recover from the damage, with the increased healing ability of the Sand Demon, Naruto did not grant him any rest. I'm just getting started. All the clones shouted as they descended in a free fall, intent on gaining as much momentum as possible to maximize the damage they could do. This time, I'll use both my legs and I'll get you with a Yonsen Renden. This guy, Gaara thought as he saw all the clones approach rapidly. Who the hell is he? All of a sudden he pulls some crap like this. And what's with those eyes? I hate those eyes. Those eyes that cry out for others. There's no way I can lose to someone with those eyes. There's no way I can lose to this guy. As he shouted out his beliefs of inability to lose, Gaara forced as much chakra as possible through his body, forcing it to undergo the transformation to full Shukaku form instantly. He knew his body would not be able to last long like that, but he was left with no other alternative. His opponent was simply too strong. Gaara just couldn't understand where that power came from. As the full-grown version of Shukaku appeared, the transformation itself was enough to dispel all the clones and send Naruto flying across the stadium again. He crashed into one of the pillars that held up the spectators' roof. He flew right through the pillar, instead landing on one of the small stairs that went between the rows of seats. Unknown to him, Hinata's younger sister, Hyuga Hanabi, was sitting no more than 4 seats back and she had full view of his actions. Why does he continue to fight? All he has to do is give up and the Chhunins in the stadium will make sure that nothing happens to Oni-san, or that pink-haired girl. So why does he keep on fighting? She was completely confused about his motives, but decided not to act, instead seeing what the weird shinobi would do. Normally her father would have said something by now, maybe even interfered because his daughter was in danger, but he had left just after Neji's fight against this same blonde. And even during that fight, Hanabi was left with a question about this weird ninja. Why does he keep getting back up? Meanwhile, Naruto had walked over to the small fence that prevented exited people from falling down to the stand. The people had actually risen from their seats during the fight, gathering around that same fence, but they all parted for him when he approached. Had he looked up at their faces, he would see a mixture of fear for Gaara's new form, excitement from the great fight and, among a few of the people, admiration and sudden respect for Naruto who continued to fight against overwhelming odds. But Naruto did not look up, instead he only looked at Gaara's new form, looking at it in both fear and wonder. That's the monster inside of him. He questioned himself. It's gigantic. The large sand demon, filling just less than a quarter of the large stadium, turned around to face his nemesis. As the giant of sand started raising his hand, Naruto realized that the attack was aimed at him. Intent on protecting the people all around him from Gaara's attack, Naruto quickly leapt forward, over the railing, towards the creature that was well over 100 times his size. To the people around, it looked like a heroic, yet suicidal, charge to victory. Everyone, the rookie 9 included, held their breath as Naruto closed in on the Shukaku. For everyone, it looked like time was moving in slow motion, Naruto approaching the gigantic demon, while the sand was rising underneath him, attempting to grab him. The sand was quicker to reach Naruto and almost instantly wrapped around him. This is bad, Kakashi thought as he saw the form of Gaara's inner demon. I already knew that he was a Jinchuriki, but he also possees one of the tailed demons. I don't know if Naruto is capable of fighting an enemy like that on his own. He doesn't have the same level of control that Gaara does, but there is a possibility that the Kyuubi is forced out. Guy, we'd better prepare for the worst-case scenario. He whispered to the man in green, standing next to him, as he raised his forehead protector to reveal his Sharingan. I know. Let's just hope it doesn't happen. Naruto-kun, Hinata said, breaking the silence of the children. Naruto had been wrapped in sand and Kakashi recognized the stance as the same on that had destroyed Lee's arm and leg. The attack he had tried to use on Sasuke as well, but had been blocked by Naruto. Gaara's instant killing move. Sabaku Q. Sabaku Q. Oh no. I've used all my chakra with those Kage Bunshin. Naruto realized too late, already wrapped in the sand. I can't do any. Before he could even finish his though, an image of Hinata and Sakura, still pinned to the wall by the sand, flashed through his head. That's right. I can't give up. If I do, Hinata and Sakura-chan will die. They risked their lives to save mine. Now, I'll risk mine to save them. His resolve strengthened even more. Naruto drew out as much chakra as he could. In his drained state, most of the chakra was drawn from the Kyuubi, to prevent him from draining his organs of energy and killing him. He didn't realize it because he didn't think about it, but it caused him to be much stronger than when he was at his limits. He swiped some of the blood that had dripped down from one of his many wounds, of his Chhunin started forming the seals for the strongest ninjutsu that he knew. The only ninjutsu he knew of, that could help him fight Gaara's new form. Inu, Tori, Suru, Hitsuji. While Naruto was busy forming the seals, Gaara decided to finish it. "This is it for you," he said. He extended the fingers on his monstrous arm a little, intent on crushing Naruto with the pressure. Following the path of his fingers, the sand loosened the smallest of nanometers. Sabaku Soso. But those few nanometers were all the room Naruto needed to unleash his strongest technique. Kuchio's no jutsu. In midair, suspended by the sand coffin around him, Naruto used his newest and most powerful ninjutsu. Unlike last time he used it, now a large explosion followed the shout, resulting in half of the arena being covered in smoke. Up from his seat next to his old teacher, Orochimaru could not help but be surprised. The frogs show that he has been training under that idiot of a Jiraiya, that much was obvious. But it's impossible that he has just summoned a frog that big. Don't tell me he's summoned. Before he could finish his thought, the smoke cleared and revealed Orochimaru's worry to be justified. Gamabunta. The third Hokage said, surprise clear in his voice. He had also figured out that Naruto had been training under Jiraiya. He had been speculating it just after Naruto's fight with Neji because no sane Konoha shinobi would try to teach Naruto to control the Kyuubi. Jiraiya's sanity was always a point of debate and, unlike the villagers, he did not fear nor hate the boy's abilities. He had been proven right when Naruto summoned the small frog, but even he had never imagined that Naruto would have the jutsu down to the point where he could summon the strongest frog possible. A frog he had not seen since the night of the fourth's death. What is that thing? It's huge, Kiba exclaimed, grabbing onto the fence in tension. Better yet, how did it get here? Something like that does not just sneak in unnoticed. Naruto used Kuchio's no jutsu. Kakashi said, turning to the group of children. It is a special A-rank ninjutsu that revolves around the manipulation of time and space. It sounds big, but in effect all you do is call a certain being that you have made a contract with to you, often to help you in a fight. It's a jutsu that some Junins and most Chhunins can't use, mainly due to its chakra cost. But if a person has enough chakra, they can call the king of the beings they made a contract with, the strongest of them all. That's what Naruto just did. Seeing the surprised looks on each of their faces, he almost chuckled. What Naruto had done was extremely impressive, but it was nothing like the bomb he was about to drop on them. There's more. He started, enjoying the tension he was creating. There are many different beings that a shinobi can make a summon contract with, but the most numerous are those with animals and their kings or queens. Among those, 3 animals have been raised to almost legendary status. Those are the 3 animals used by the legendary Sannin, who are also the only ones who can give the contract to someone. The slugs, controlled by Tsunade Hime, the snakes controlled by the traitor Orochimaru, and finally the frogs that are controlled by Jiraiya-sama. The last time anyone from Konoha has seen the Frog King Gamabunta was on the day that the 4th Hokage fought against the Kyuubi. What? No way. Are you kidding me? That means that. A variety of reactions arose from the group of children standing with him. Kakashi did not answer, instead turning his gaze back upon the fight that would start in a minute. He could not help but give a small smile behind his mask. The irony of it all left him no choice. 12 years ago, this large frog had been used in the defeat of the monster sealed inside Naruto, the same Naruto who now stood upon its head. And again, it would fight against a tailed demon to protect the village of Konoha. Next to him, Guy noticed the smile on his rival's face and knew exactly what it was about. He had difficulty keeping a straight face himself. The ring that had been used for the 3rd round of the Chhunin exams was huge, but with both Gamabunta and the full-size version of Shukaku standing in it, only half of the original surface remained, very little room for beings their size to maneuver. But none of that were on Naruto's mind as he stood atop Gamabunta's head, his hands still in the stance of the jutsu he just used. No matter what, I'll defiantly protect everyone. He yelled out loud. His promise, shouted to no one but himself, was heard by everyone and everything in the stadium, leading to a variation of reactions. Some of the teenage girls thought he was a romantic hero, some of the teenage guys thought he was acting far too cool, the elder villagers were surprised by his determination, the Kyuubi haters were convinced he was only trying to get others to like him before he brutally killed his opponent and then went on with his mockery of the fourth, and, finally, his friends were surprised he hadn't noticed that Hinata and Sakura were no longer pinned to the wall. The giant frog he was standing on reacted as well, although in a way no one, except maybe the third, had expected. As the king of all frogs looked up to see who was standing on his head, expecting an explanation, Naruto's old confidence came back to him. Alright, the results of my training finally show. Now we're talk. You again. The frog interrupted, sounding annoyed. What's with you? What a ya want? Before Naruto could answer, Gaara, in his full Shukaku form, moved his tail, earning him Gamabunta's attention. If I remember correctly, that's Shukaku of the Sands. He thought. Not an easy opponent, even for someone like me. Toad boss, Naruto exclaimed, addressing Gamabunta by his own version of the frog's title. Please fight with me. I'm counting on yo. He didn't get to finish his sentence as Gamabunta again interrupted him. Hell number. What? Naruto exclaimed. But why? Last time you said you'd make me your underling. A boss is supposed to help out his underlings in trouble, ain't he? That's the family law. And I know I said I'd make you my underling last time, but we haven't even exchanged drinks to seal the deal, so. He let the rest of the sentence hang in the air, hoping the blonde would understand what he meant. Meanwhile, his thoughts were on a completely different track. Why should I have to do anything for the sake of this pain in the butt? No way. I'm not of age yet, I can't drink sake. Naruto exclaimed. Suddenly he felt a weight land on his head that spoke up. Now don't go saying that. The smaller frog Naruto had summoned before spoke from his new resting place, sitting atop Naruto's head. Will you listen to the fellow already? I was saved by this one, Pops. Huh, Pops. You mean that you're his son? Naruto's question went unanswered as Gamabunta instead focused his attention on his son. What are you doing here, Gamakichi? I was bored so I came out to play. The small amphibian answered before pointing his hand towards Gaara. But more importantly, that guy tried to bully me. Say what? Gamabunta exclaimed, his voice hard enough for half the stadium to flinch. But this guy here saved me. He's pretty interesting. Gamakichi continued. Tell you what, kid. Gamabunta exclaimed as he drew his dagger. I'll recognize you as my underling. And I'll show you all about the family law. And as for you, he continued, pointing his dagger at the sand monster. It's payback time, bastard. Gamabunta crouched as much as he could for a frog, ready to launch at his opponent. Hold on tight now, he yelled before pushing of. Naruto only barely had time to gather some chakra into his feet to prevent himself from being blown away with the speed Gamabunta pushed of. Because the small space of the arena, Gamabunta was upon his opponent instantly and with a quick movement slashed his dagger upward. His sword cut through the monster's right arm, but the resistance of its skin prevented Gamabunta from keeping his blade in hand. The amount of force he had been forced to put behind it made the blade fly away at the same time as Gaara's arm. The large sand arm flew into a wall, its mass and force enough to make the entire wall crumble down, opening the arena. Meanwhile, Gamabunta's dagger was sent flying and crashed right into the building that previously all the participators of the third exam were standing. It cut through the building with ease, its hilt still sticking out of the roof. It was only because Shino had joined his teammates after Sasuke's fight that he had survived. Kankuro and Temari had been equally lucky because they had gone to speak with their sensei when the plan wasn't executed as they thought it would be. Nevertheless, the force of two giant beings, each weighing a few thousand kilograms at the least, clashing and landing on the ground was enough to knock every single person in the stadium back. Even the Hokage and Kazekage were pushed back by the sheer force of the exchange. Awesome. The single word was all Naruto could think of to describe the fight. He noticed the amount of collateral damage done after just one attack and quickly issued a warning to his giant ally. He's Toad Boss. Sakura-chan, Hinata and the others are over that way. He yelled, pointing in the general direction of the crowd. Don't go there. Lure him here, would you? Sakura-chan, Hinata, the giant toad asked, unfamiliar with the names. They're his friends, Pops. Gamakichi quickly explained to his father. We have to defeat him, otherwise we can't save Sakura-chan and Hinata. With some difficulty, Gamabunta could look up to see Naruto's face. He was looking at Gaara with the same determination that he gained after remembering what strength was. When he saw the look on his face, realizing he wouldn't back down no matter what, even the mighty Toad Boss was impressed. He couldn't help but grin as he realized that all three of the humans he had accepted as underlings in the last few decennia were so similar to each other. And, in a way, very similar to himself. You're fun. Uzumaki Naruto, the giant abomination of sand, suddenly spoke up. As he spoke, Gaara's body suddenly appeared on top of the sand monster's head. As he looked up, he clenched his hands in the seal of the tiger, indicating that he was going to use some kind of ninjutsu. Oh no! Temari exclaimed. She, like everyone else in the stadium, had been pulled into this fight as soon as Gaara had pinned those two kunoichi to the wall. She had never before seen anyone fight the way this Uzumaki Naruto did, and she had never, ever seen Gaara get pushed as much as he was being pushed today. What's with these Konoha shinobi? She thought. Never before has anyone been able to bypass Gaara's defenses, but in a month's time, he has been hurt by an enemy attack, made to bleed for the first time in his life, and now he's being forced to use that jutsu. If those three are any indication of what all the Leaf Shinobi are capable of, we won't stand a chance even if we join up with the Hidden Sound. A look at her younger brother Kankuro showed her that his mind was working on a similar path. And why on earth didn't they start the plan already? With each passing moment, Temari became more nervous. Something was going on here, she was sure of it. Suddenly she heard Gaara's voice throughout the entire stadium, using the one jutsu she had feared more than anything else in the world. Tanuki Niri no Jutsu. As he yelled the jutsu's name, Gaara's entire body fell over, indicating he had fallen asleep. Almost instantly, the body of sand stretched out as its eyes faded back a bit before coming back in a completely different style. His eyes didn't show the loneliness that Gaara's had shown, not the determination of Naruto's eyes or even the mad bloodlust of the Kyuubi's eyes. Instead, it just showed madness. Utter and sheer insanity. Ha 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 ha. I'm out. I'm finally out. Even its voice was dripping with insanity. Yahoo! And there's someone I wanna kill right away too. That's Shukaku? Naruto asked, completely bewildered. Shukaku raised its only hand above its head as its belly suddenly grew while it was inhaling gallons and gallons of air. As its hand came rushing down, intent of smashing into Shukaku's belly, Gamabunta realized what was going on. We're going to jump, he warned as he pushed off. Again Naruto barely had enough time to stick to the toad. Futon. Rinkuden, Shukaku exclaimed as its hand slammed into its belly. The result was that all the air he had breathed in, mixed with his chakra, came shooting out at a tremendous speed. Even with Gamabunta's jumping power, he had only barely evaded the attack. It instead slammed into the wall behind him, flattening that as well. The explosion caused by the contact between the solid wall and the powerful ball of chakra, blasted away a large part of the forest and the road that led up the arena. As another result, there were now two major holes in the walls of the arena, only one part remaining. That part that had been split in two by Gamabunta's dagger. As he was traveling through the air, Gamabunta used his forepaws to form the seal of the tiger as well, focusing a large amount of chakra into his mouth. I can see you, Rinkuden, Shukaku exclaimed, turning around and firing his signature move again. Sweden. Teppo Dama. The equally large toad answered. A large ball of water shot out of its mouth, meeting with the ball of condensed air halfway. As the two large balls, one of wind and the other of water, crashed into each other, Sasuke realized something. This fight is incredible. It's more like a storm than a fight. Naruto, just how strong are you? Amazing. Ino said, looking at the fight with admiration. Indeed. A soft voice spoke up from behind them. Lee recognized the voice and turned around to see his own rival, Hyuga Neji, standing there, his eyes focused on the fight. I can't believe he was holding back this much against me. I'm amazed at just how strong this person is. The Hyuga said, earning him a few strange looks from the rookies. It didn't work. Naruto stated the obvious. I know. The annoyed answer from the giant toad came. Before Shukaku could aim another attack, Gamabunta instantly pushed up and turned in mid-air. Shukaku turned towards him again and their voices sounded throughout the arena once again. Teppo Dama. Rinkuden. This time, Gamabunta and Shukaku both shot out multiple orbs, hoping to get past the other's attack. However, Shukaku had shot one more attack, resulting in him gaining revenge for his arm. The orb crashed into the mighty toad, the power of it causing him to fall on back to the ground, covered in smoke. Hell yeah, I did it. He's dead. I killed him. I killed him. Shukaku shouted in glee, his voice sounding throughout the entire village of Konoha. He had even started swinging his arm and body around in some mad parody of a victory dance, before Gamabunta's voice was heard again. He asshole. You pumped so much chakra into that attack that it hurt as hell. The toad yelled in anger as he charged out of the smoke. He turned his attention to Naruto instead, explaining his battle plan to him. With his size and voice, it would have been useless to try and surprise his opponents anyway, but Gamabunta didn't care about that at all. Even I can't take too many of those. So instead, we're going to have to get Shukaku out of the fight right now. What are we going to do? Naruto asked. We'll get close to this asshole and stop him in his tracks. We'll do it while his guard is down. I'm asking you, what are we going to do? I'm a toad, so I have no fangs or claws or anything, meaning I can't hold him down, so we're going to use henge no jutsu into something that does have them. That's where I'm going to need your help. I can't use henge, so you're going to use a combination henge for both of us. I'll lend you my chakra, cuz you're probably out after summoning me. Even in his entire explanation, he never stopped rushing forward. Shukaku was standing just outside of the walls, through the hole that his arm had made after being severed. Gamabunta, on the other hand, had been blasted back through the other hole in the wall, causing for quite some distance between the two titans. Huh, came Naruto's response. I'm going to change us into something with fangs and claws. Let me think for a second. Here we go. Gamabunta gave no heed to his underling's request and closed the remaining distance. Huh, wait a second. As he was having trouble thinking up an animal, he again saw Haku before him. The image caused him to remember how he had defeated the ice user. That memory made him think of the perfect animal to transform Gamabunta into. Henge no jutsu, Naruto shouted, wrapping both himself and Gamabunta in a thick veil of smoke. And the new form of Gamabunta and Naruto that came rushing out of the smoke and grabbing onto Shukaku, was the form that had haunted many good night rests for the elderly of Konoha, the very image that had caused Naruto to be hated, the image of the being that killed the fourth Hokage. Gamabunta had been transformed into a giant fox.